All right, in the meantime, Russia's Ministry of Defense says one of its fighter jets intercepted a U.S. drone over the Black Sea to prevent what it called a border violation. Russia claims the U.S. Air Force drone apparently made a U-turn when approached by the jet. No word yet from the Pentagon. Meantime, Ukraine has issued warnings to ships using Russian Black Sea ports. It comes after a wave of Ukrainian sea drone attacks, including this one that you're looking at right here, on a Russian oil tanker that Moscow says will not go without a response. CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh joins us now. Nick, fill us in here. Why has the Black Sea suddenly become this major focal point?
Yeah, entirely unexpected, especially for Moscow, it's fair to say. In fact, Vladimir Putin even has a fancy holiday home sat right on the Black Sea area, just down from where yesterday's Novorossiysk attack occurred on an amphibious assault ship, and probably not too far away from where the Russian fuel cargo ship Asig was indeed hit this morning. That was carrying 5,000 tons, or can carry 5,000 tons of fuel. Apparently nobody injured on that. Ukrainian officials suggesting that yesterday's attack against the amphibious assault ship potentially involved 100 people who were on board. The point here, though, Jim, is these parts of the Black Sea are supposed to be way out of Ukraine's range. They're supposed to be the safe backwaters that Russia could move its ships to, away from exposed areas around the Crimea. Instead, day after day, we are now seeing these instances in which Ukrainian drones, perhaps traveling hundreds of miles, are in fact coming straight into military vehicles, important parts of Russian military infrastructure. That's what they allege the fuel ship was. And just last week, or slightly earlier than that, the Kerch Bridge again hit by a Ukrainian drone. That is too very close to that area as well. And so a series of incidents here that show, firstly, the increased ingenuity of Ukrainians using water drones, which frankly appear to carry enormous payloads against exceptionally expensive Russian hardware. The fact that that range means Russia's parts of the Black Sea it used to consider impregnable are now very much targets for Ukraine. And also, too, changing the narrative somewhat from about the grind here in the south, where Ukraine's counter-offensive is taking less land than it would have liked by this particular point. And still at this point, Russia is on the defensive. Jim?
And Nick, Ukrainian President Zelensky is confirming that some Russian missiles were used in attacks today in Ukraine, including where you are, near where you are. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the Kinzhal hypersonic missiles seem to have been launched. There appears to have been some interceptions, but indeed here in Zaporizhia, an aviation plant may have been hit. Another area of Ukraine hit as well. Look, this is common, frankly. This is part of the daily routine of Russia's often barbaric response towards Ukraine, particularly when it's experiencing much more symbolically embarrassing things like attacks on Moscow or attacks on its naval ports in the Black Sea area. And so we've been seeing these attacks nightly, frankly. They often cause deaths. Unclear precisely if there was a loss of life from the attacks we've heard of today. But for Ukrainian civilians, part of the daily horrors, frankly, they experienced since Russia invaded by choice nearly 18 months ago. Jim?
All right, that's right. All right, Nick Payton-Walsh with that live report for us. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Joining us for more on the military tactics in the Black Sea is CNN military analyst, retired Air Force Colonel Cedric Leighton. There's some new video obtained by CNN, and we're watching it right here. Pretty extraordinary video here that shows one of these Ukrainian sea drones. Forgive my ignorance here. I didn't realize that they had sea drones, or what sea drones were. What are we seeing here?
So basically what we're seeing here, Jim, is a missile that is, well, a drone that is acting kind of like a missile that is going toward a ship. And you can see the ship right there as it's, being approached by the drone. The drone is hitting it right on the side, basically in one of the more vulnerable points of the ship. So what this can do is really a lot of severe damage. It can actually take out a large portion of the ship. It can possibly sink it, depending on the amount of explosives. Now, in this particular case, they tell us that it was around 500 I think, kilograms of TNT. So this is, a pretty massive explosion is possible with something like this. And I think what you're seeing is really something that allows us to, realize that the type of warfare that we're dealing with here is an asymmetric kind of warfare, and that's very different. Ukraine has no real practical navy at this particular point in time, except for these drones.
It's remarkable. I mean, this has been a drone war in many ways. And just looking at that video again, I mean, what is remarkable to me about it is that it's got a pretty clear view coming from the drone's point of view. That is a camera mounted on the drone, I take it.
Right.
And while we're getting a pretty good shot, pretty good image of the Russian ship that it's approaching, I am assuming that it's essentially traveling under the cover of a lot of darkness here. That the ships aren't really seeing, even though we can see the drone in this video, the ships aren't seeing that thing coming.
They're not. And in fact, they don't have the capability. Ships have radar that is designed to protect them against other surface vessels. They also, in the case of a naval vessel, they have radars that protect them against aircraft. But there's very little protection in the way of anti-drone measures, and that really affects all the naval vessels in the world. That's something that is going to be a big game changer once we really assess how capable the Ukrainians actually have been in this particular case.
Another wrinkle that the Russians weren't anticipating in all of this.
That's right. Yeah. And this is one of the key things, Jim, about this war. There's a lot that happens that is unanticipated. There are a lot of different things that occur that aren't part of the playbook, if you will. And they always say, any plan that is used in warfare, it falls apart once it makes contact with the enemy.
Yeah, necessity, the mother of invention. We're seeing that time and again in this war. And Ukraine is promising more drone attacks, issuing a warning to using Russian Black Sea ports. I mean, this could get pretty dicey.
Absolutely, and you saw it with the attack on the naval vessel in Novorossiysk, which is a seaport on the eastern shore of the Black Sea. That is actually one of Russia's major ports. By volume, it is actually, I think, the largest in terms of trade volume that goes through the port, the largest port in Russia. So the fact that the Ukrainians were able to send a drone that far and take out a ship, a naval vessel, that is a remarkable achievement, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, they can just be extremely pesky, those drones. And Ukraine's Air Force said Russia fired advanced missiles into the western part of the country. What can you tell us about that? We heard Nick talking a little bit about that a few moments ago.
Yes, and in particular, I think one of the things that they emphasize is the Kinzhal missile. The Kinzhal missile is a hypersonic missile. It can travel at least 5 times the speed of sound, probably about 6 or 7 times the speed of sound, depending on the variant. And it is designed to evade all kinds of air defenses. Now, the Ukrainians have been lucky. They actually have been able to shoot down Kinzhal missiles in the past.
Really?
So they are, in essence, upping the ante on their side and making it pretty clear that these weapons, these hypersonic weapons, which Putin has been so proud of, that they are not invulnerable to.
I was going to say, you can shoot them down even at that speed.
Even
the
at that speed.
Ukrainians are demonstrating that.
Yes, and they've done it with our Patriot system.
Wow, fascinating. All right, Colonel Cedric Leighton, thanks so much. Great to see you. Appreciate it.